call the meeting to order. And, I'd like to welcome everybody who's here this evening. I know we have some family members who are here interested in the swearing in, and we'll be having here in just a few minutes. But first thing I want to do is welcome the new council who's sitting this evening for the first meeting of the new year, as well as this new administration. So welcome all of y'all. I'm happy to be here with you, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. And I know we've got a lot of work to do ahead of us, but I think all of us are up to the challenge. And if we weren't, we shouldn't have stuck our names in the hat and asked for the position. But I think it's exciting to have this council seated this evening, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. We get my first order of business is we've got some new positions to be filled in our fire department, so I'll call on Chief Billy Mattingly to start off the proceedings.
Thank you, Mayor. With the retirement of Assistant Chief Montgomery, we had that position open, so we did a process to promote from within the department, and it's a great pleasure that I introduced the candidate tonight. He's actually been filling in since Chuck took leave in October. He's my right-hand man. I think we worked very well together. It's Mr. Todd Spalding. Todd is being promoted. He was originally the Captain Fire Marshal, and now he's going to be the Assistant Chief Fire Marshal. Todd's been with the department for 15 years. Tonight he's here with his wife Stacy, his son Cameron, who's actually one of our junior firefighters also, daughters Brooke and Whitney. Good boy, Todd.
I look forward to leading our group of guys and girls, and we got a great group of people, and just getting our department going in a good direction and developing our people to make a great fire department. Thank you.
Our new firefighter, and we'll do the swearing in simultaneously.
Okay. With Montgomery's retirement, we had an open position, so we have gone through our hiring process, and we'd like to introduce Mr. David Woodford tonight, aka Big Country. He stands up there in a minute, you will know why we call him Big Country. David has started as a volunteer with us in August of 2017. While volunteering with us, David became an EMT, which was a big accomplishment. He also volunteers for Northeast Nelson, and he works part-time for the Nelson County Fire Department. David was hired as part-timer just 2 months ago, and when the full-time position came open, he was the person that we chose that we'd like to offer the full-time employment to, and he is here tonight with his wife, April.
Okay, if you gentlemen join me. You would raise your right hand, and I'm going to swear both of you all in at the same time, but I do want to welcome you. Of course, Todd's been with us for a long time, but welcome, David, and we look forward to many years of good service with our fire department with you. So thank you for joining our team. So I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the position of firefighter and assistant fire chief, according to the law. And I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of the state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state, nor out of it, nor have I set or accepted the challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God. Congratulations. Again, thank you guys for your service to the community, and thank all the family members who came to witness you all swearing in this evening, and wish all of you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Mayor.
David, do you want anything to say to the group?
I better not.
All right, thank you all.
Too shy.
I never understand it.
Well, I think that takes care of any input from the public. Not much to get I'm going to move something up on the agenda because we have one council member is going to have to recuse himself, and that's the cemetery deeds. We typically have that at the end of the meeting, but since Councilman Williams has purchased the grave sites, he needs to recuse himself, so we don't want to make him leave at the end of the meeting and come back in for adjournment. He's recused himself, so we have 2 cemetery deeds, Roland and Rita Williams for 2 graves, and we can approve those by unanimous consent unless anyone has a problem there. Okay. All right, so you can have Roland come back in. Okay, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of our special call meeting on December 27th? If there's no additions or changes or corrections, we'll also approve those by unanimous consent. Okay, next item then is we're going to have some changes to our cemetery ordinance, particularly with the prices of our grave sites and lots. Would ask for someone to introduce this change, and then we'll have the city attorney read it.
I can do that, Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance B 2019 Chapter 92 Cemetery, and ask the city attorney if she'd read that in full, please.
Thank you, Councilman Buckman. Ordinance B 2019-Chapter 92 Cemetery. An ordinance amending and adopting as amended an ordinance relating to Chapter 92 Cemetery of the City of Bardstown's Code of Ordinances. The City Council of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky does ordain as follows. That amendments be made to Chapter 92 Cemetery, Section 92.02, how divided and sold, fees and charges, and also Section 92.07, unused or transfer of lots to the City of Bardstown's Code of Ordinances as follows. Section 9, and I'm just going to read these in their entirety for everyone, just these sections. Section 92.02, how divided and sold, fees and charges. Subsection A tract of land described in 92.01 shall be divided and set apart as heretofore, to wit, see copy of plat filed with Sexton. The cemetery is laid off in lots/rows and sold at the following rates. Striking subsections A through E, which I will read. A, single lot in sections 1 through 6 and sections 13 through 18. Excuse me, yes, in sections 13 through 18, $500. All other single lot/rows, $450. B, baby grave or cremation grave, $150. C, opening and closing for grave, $400. D, opening and closing grave for urn, $150. E, opening and closing for baby grave, $150. Inserting subsections A through H, which I will read. Subsection A, single lot in sections 1 through 6 and 13 through 18, city resident, $950. B, single lot in sections 7 through 12 and 19 through 34, city resident, $850. C, single lot in any section, Nelson County resident, $1,200. Non-county resident, $1,500. D, baby grave or cremation grave, $250. E, opening and closing for grave, Monday through Friday, $500. Saturday through Sunday, $700. F, opening and closing grave for cremation, $250. G, opening and closing for baby grave, $250. H, transferring ownership of a grave Administrative fee per grave transfer, $50. Inserting, fees are to be evaluated annually by the cemetery committee, and any changes are to be recommended by the committee to the city council. Then subsection B, full graves purchased prior to an actual need shall be refunded at 1/2 the cost of the striking current insert purchase price upon transfer to the city. Receipt of the original purchase shall accompany the request for refund. Inserting the following sentence, if no receipt exists, the cemetery sexton may use his or her discretion in determining the purchase price. No cremation or baby grave purchase prior to the actual need will be refunded. Then section 92.07, unused or transfer of lots. And this is subsection B. No transfer of any lot shall be permitted except upon the record books and with the consent of the city council, and the deed of conveyance made, signed, approved, and recorded as aforesaid shall be conclusive proof of ownership, and no person shall have the use of or title to any lot until the same is paid for or satisfactorily arranged. Inserting, after conclusive proof of ownership is provided to the cemetery sexton, the city may repurchase the lot for a price equivalent to 1/2 of the purchase price of the lot. A new lot may then be purchased at the current listed price. And this is C, I think there's a typo here. C, section 92.02H for applicable fees. I think ownership of each grave should be stricken, Madam Clerk. Then section 92.13, this is a new section inserting this. Definition of residency for purposes of purchasing cemetery lots. In order to establish residency for the purposes of purchasing a cemetery lot, an individual must present to the cemetery sexton documentation of his or her residency status. Residency may be established by presenting a government-issued photo identification listing a current address and a piece of mail addressed to the individual at that address, or any other documentation deemed acceptable by the cemetery sexton. If extenuating circumstances exist, it shall be at the discretion of the cemetery sexton to determine the documentation that may be accepted to establish residency and/or waive the residency requirement. This ordinance or parts of ordinance is in conflict herewith or repealed to the extent of such conflict. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect following publication as required by law.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. If you'll recall, these recommendations were made by the cemetery committee to the council several weeks ago, so we're just now getting a chance to ordain the changes. And I guess we need a motion then to formally approve the amendment here with that one correction that Audrey pointed out. After paragraph 92.07, we need to strike where it says ownership of each grave. C 92.02H for applicable fee. That line there is out of place. Outside of that, I think everything else is correct.
So Mayor, you're just looking for a motion to correct the first reading as,
Well, I think we probably, I guess, need to make sure we correct this, delete these, this one line that's not in it before we do a first or second reading on that.
I'm going to bring it back at the next meeting with it corrected.
Yeah, since this is the first reading, then we can forego and let her bring the cleanup. Okay, we'll just do that then.
We can approve, are you saying we can approve it with the necessary corrections on these ordinance? It's the first reading tonight?
Yeah, it's just the first reading, so we don't have to take a formal vote.
Yeah.
So we'll just wait till we get the cleaned up version. Okay. All right, the next thing under reports of staff and committees, in your package you will see we had a lot of information about some new brand standards and a new logo for the city. And Hannah, I think, had a good explanation about the background of this, but I've asked Kim Houston to be here since she and I both were on the original Bourbon Capital Community Alliance committee that was formed probably over 3 years ago now. But part of this branding and change has evolved as a result of some of the work and initiatives from the Bourbon Capital Community Alliance. So Kim, I'll let you just give a brief background to the branding as it relates to not just the city of Bardstown, but the community as a whole.
And Betty Hart serves on the BCCA now, so she's been very valuable and a lot of information. I was looking at the city council things. I think over the many, many decades, I think we've only had like a couple logos that we've used over the year. Most recently, we've been using a door. We had the home for a while. But, lots of times it's time to freshen things up, to change things up. And especially for us right now, we're trying to get all the organizations, all the economic development organizations, the city, and a lot of people to be a lot more coordinated in our efforts of spotlighting Bardstown and all that. And to do that, cleaning up things has a lot to do with the branding and the logos as well too. So the BCC hired a company called Solid Light in Louisville, and they have been working with us on many things. They started with us on our strategic plan, and that's gotten us to where we are today. Several of the Bourbon Capital Compass, a lot of the new signage that you see in town. There's been a lot of initiatives that the BCC has done, probably behind the scenes. You didn't know where that came from, but they've been a great volunteer organization. So when we came up to just kind of cleaning up and wanting to brand ourselves, of course, bourbon has been very, very big to us, and we wanted to be able to focus on that some ways, but have also other opportunities for the other agencies to use this branding in any way they want. And so they're called a family of brands. And Hannah was very instrumental in working with us with Solid Light. And I think you've got the package in front of you. And we came across, after a lot of looking, a lot of searching, a lot of throwing things out, the Bardstown, City of Bardstown for you all. We came up with Bardstown, Bourbon Capital of the World. We came up with Bardstown, aging since 1780. And I believe that's what tourism is using. We all have the same fonts, similar colors, families of colors. But the good thing is it's new, it's fresh, it's able to go on anything. You can put it on anything. You don't have to, have a logo that gets lost on a shirt or on the side of a car. When you know that it's a city vehicle, you're going to know it's a city vehicle. And we're real proud of it. And did you have anything that you wanted to show as well too?
Well, in an email to the council members, I had sent out the logo itself and some things, so they already have that. But in addition, do you want to show what
We've got, yeah, we'll do that too. We've got some what's going to look like on the side of trucks, and even most importantly is something we're really excited about. Finally, after 5-6 years, we're going to put a Bardstown brand on the water tower out in Nelson County Industrial Park. We have a sponsor who has agreed to pay for that cost. Solid Light has helped us put together getting somebody to do it, what the cost to do it is. We're working on getting that price down a little bit, but it's going to be the Bardstown Bourbon Capital of the World. And then what you're going to see, it's going to be on two sides. So as you're coming in from the Lexington area, it's going to be on one side. You're going to be able to know you're coming in, and it's going to be on the back side going away from Bardstown as well too. It's very important that finally we show people where they are. They are in the Bourbon Capital of the World. And it's been a long time coming to finally be able to promote this and to put it on the water tower. But everybody has agreed. I think we're real proud of it. The time frame is up in the air right now. We've got some things to work out with Jessica and the mayor. We got some meetings on that with our sponsor as well too. But we're going to be real proud to see everything that you're going to see around Bardstown. There's going to be a coordination of efforts. And I think it's going to clean it up. I think it's professional. And I think, well, Hannah and I agree, it's really, really classy. And we're real proud of it. So if you all have any questions, the city actually didn't have to pay for much of this. This was paid for by the BCCA. So the city didn't have to pay for the work with Solid Light or any of that. We were able to raise funds donated to us by the bourbon industry. And so they have paid for all this work that we have done so far. And we hope you guys like it.
Thank you, Kim. I'll just add to that, some of our meetings that we've had included people who were instrumental in working with Nashville. When Nashville came up with Music City USA, that has been a very, very successful rebranding, and we met with people that were involved with that. We've also met with people who have been involved with Napa, with the creation of Napa Valley, and that's where the Bourbon Trail here is sort of it's our version of Napa Valley here, and where the Bourbon Capital of the World is. So we had a lot of input from people like that, and, their message was, strong that, you are the bourbon capital of the world. You need to own that, and you need to let the people know that. Just like Nashville has proven to the world that they are the Music City USA, and it's helped transform that city. As many of us, if you've been there any time in the last 10 years, that city has seen quite a renaissance because of their efforts behind that. And Napa Valley, everybody is trying to copy versions of certain parts of that whole area of the country. We're not Sonoma or San Francisco. We're probably more related to some of the smaller communities in Napa Valley in terms of who we are, what we look like, and the experience that you get here. So, we listen to a lot of those people who have been very successful in helping promote their areas in the United States, and so that's the other kind of motivation we had in coming forward with this. So we're excited. It takes nothing away from the iconic buildings that have been part of our logos for years. The door at Federal Hill and Oak, Kentucky Home, the Basilica at St. Joseph Proto Cathedral, and the other buildings that have been represented on some of our logos. But we weren't consistent. If you look at a lot of our visuals, it's a hodgepodge today. You've got some that's got the Bardstown flag, and some that's got City of Bardstown on it. Some's got the door on it. Some don't have the door on it. So we want to be something more consistent and more in keeping with what's out there today in terms of what looks clean and sharp. And I think we're fortunate that we work with Solid Light, a very reputable firm. They probably have worked with 3 or 4 of our local distilleries have already used them and are currently using them for part of their work in their development, particularly in the hospitality side of things. And they've worked extensively in Louisville with their Whiskey Row and their Bourbon District downtown and so forth. So we felt like they were a good match to help us come up with these. So it doesn't take a formal vote by the council. We're just wanting to show you all this evening, and I'd be happy to open it up for any discussion or comments from the council.
You got someone locally that's printing these, like GBA or something?
We're doing ours at GBA.
We're looking at different vendors, that hasn't been decided. That's just a sample pack that was sent to us.
We're not looking at that standard of quality, right? That was the
We are.
sample that they were sort of soliciting.
I think one of the things we had looked at is trying to get sustainably forested cars or cars with recycled materials in them, because we wanted to reduce our carbon footprint. But we haven't picked a vendor or anything for business cards.
So I assume the city's going to stick with the burgundy?
Yes.
Because I know there's some other colors in the palette.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one we selected. We felt like it was rich, but also different from the blue that we've been with, and the font. We've changed the font quite a bit, and it ties in with the bourbon industry somewhat. With
Kind of the color of bourbon on them.
So
Yeah, kind of
it makes sense in that regard.
I think years ago, I don't know how many you probably know, Kim, that the Bourbon Festival saw fit, and I'm glad they did, to trademark
Yes,
that bourbon capital of the world.
yeah, we
So
are
it's
glad.
wise of them to do that.
right. And then the city has the opportunity now to use it in any fashion that they want to use it as well.
Yeah, so we went to them back earlier in 2015, and they've given us permission to use it on these printed materials and our website and vehicles and tower and so forth, and the same for the county. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, but it is trademarked, so
Yeah.
that's really good. And I hope each of you all got the email that I sent out to you concerning the New York Times article on Bardstown. I can tell you that in the last 2 days, our phones haven't stopped ringing. I actually got a call from a publisher out of New York today, wants to talk about Bardstown, doing some books and some articles and things on Bardstown, kind of like what they said, what marijuana has done for California, what has bourbon done for Bardstown. But it's called a vice book, you know, it's vices. I don't know how I feel about that, you know, chief over there, but it's garnered a lot of attention. Just the phones have been ringing. We've been getting a lot of hits on the internet since that story came out, and we could have never afforded to have purchased any advertising that we got from that one story in the New York Times. I think we all checked our bucket list off for that in the New York Times. Check.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, for helping us on this project. Look forward to rolling it out on actual city properties here pretty soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, Chief Manley, you're back up again. We've got a fire department promotion. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was discussed at a safety committee meeting, I guess maybe the last safety committee meeting. So,
Yes, sir.
but we have some new council members, so probably haven't seen those minutes. So if you want to give some background and talk to this, 'cause
Sure. First, for the new council members, let me kind of explain how we operate. We have 3 platoons, A, B, and C platoon. They work 24-hour shifts, 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. Those are my suppression guys. Myself and Todd, we're 40-hour-week guys, so we work 8 to 4 longer if we need to and stuff. So that's how we function. Right now, before we purchased the new property on John Rowan, we had everybody here at Broadway at the station, and we had a lieutenant that was in charge of the shift, and then he had people underneath him. We have grown to where he has 5 full-time paid firefighters underneath him and 1 part-timer. And now with our volunteer program, where the volunteers have to do a 24-hour ride-along a month, we're sometimes having anywhere from 1 to 3 that we have room for volunteers. So we're getting more trucks out the door, but this one person is in charge of all that. Well, when the John Rowan property came available to us, and once we closed the deal on that next day, we put a camper up there, and we've actually had an engine responding out of that location since that time and stuff. So what we're wanting to do, it's kind of hard for a captain or a lieutenant to be in charge of 2 places at one time. You can't be there and so forth. And there's several people to be watching out for. So what I'm proposing to do is move my lieutenants, who, I think everybody got it on their pads today, where it says current positions. Okay, this is what we currently have. I have 3 lieutenants, Mike Hatfield, Trevor Mattingly, and Justin Brown. They've been lieutenants with the department, I guess, ever since it was gone to full-time staff. I like to move them up to captains. I think they deserve it. They work towards it, and promote 3 guys from within to make them lieutenants. My captains will be in charge of the Station 1, which would be the John Rowan property, and the lieutenants will be in charge down here at the Broadway station. And I really need this to where, like I said, they could be the first in on the scene. We're requiring all my officers to take the fire officers 1 course to be certified. So that's going to help them, but they can be the first in on the scene and be there for a little while by themselves. I need some guys that really kind of know what they're doing and be in charge. Plus, even though they're here at Broadway and that's going to be the substation, they're still going to have civilians coming in, asking questions and so forth. And people need to know who to go to. But if something happens, I need to know who to go to and say, I got this call, what's going on, and so forth and stuff. So this will be the lieutenant that's in charge of it and stuff. Now, so what I'm proposing, if you go to the next one, it says proposal, you'll see our current line. Like I said, we have three new lieutenants that we're wanting to make. We've gone through the interviews. We're ready to name the 3 if y'all approve of this and so forth. And we can start it as soon as we can get the League of City, I think that's the name of it, approval, or Frankfurt's.
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt's. We're going to have to approve it. Now, I guess the main question is, how are you going to pay for it? Okay, everybody shaking their head, yes. The next page, if you look at where it says the hourly rates and so forth. First of all, the 3 current lieutenants, we're kind of behind scale on their pay range. We're not compatible with other cities around Bardstown. My firefighters were pretty compatible with them. So we're wanting to increase this. If you notice down at the bottom, the grand total is $40,560. Todd and I have looked down at our budget. We feel very confident that there's 2 categories we can take this money out of and supplement this to pay with it without changing our budget any. One of them is 5530, which is kind of a catch-all category, and the other is our overtime budget. We have really changed our overtime. Before I came in, like they were doing trainings, they would bring everybody in and do a training, so therefore you were paying anywhere from 12 to 15 guys overtime. Well, it's easier to pay one guy overtime to do a training, and he can do it on all 3 days, than it is to bring everybody in. It saves you money that way. So we really have cut our overtime budget quite a bit. Mainly, the only time we're getting overtime now is if someone's off sick, someone's off injured, or we're shorthanded on vacation time, and so forth. Or they come back on structure fires. So our overtime budget has really been cut dramatically. And there's, like I said, no problem cutting out. I think we figured about 30,000 out of 5520 out of that part of it to cover the salaries. So we feel pretty confident we've done it this way.
This won't be up for a vote this evening because we're going to get Frankfurt approval, then we'll have to get the authorized positions and all that drawn up, correct?
Yes, sir. We'll have to do a pay classification plan change at the next council meeting. We can go ahead and make the changes. This is going to require some changes to their job descriptions, which is where Frankfurt comes in. Anytime there's a change to police or fire's job descriptions, you got to run it through Frankfurt and they have to approve them. But we go ahead and make the changes without that approval yet. I mean, it'll get approved. It's just, they don't meet but once a quarter. So you can go ahead and make the changes. Also, I need to look at these numbers, these raises, to make sure that they don't meet any of the spiking. I have argued with Frankfurt every time we get a spiking challenge. I've challenged every single one of them and I've lost every single time because of the deficit in the pension plan. So I want to make sure that none of these are going to be considered spiking, because then we'll have to pay into the pension plan for it.
So, to be honest with you, I've never heard anyone that's won a challenge.
Well, you're not going to, but I want to make sure that it does.
So tonight, this is really informational for the council as a whole, particularly the new council members, as this came out of discussion at our safety committee meeting. So, does anyone have any other questions of the chief on this presentation? Chief Cressy, you got anything to talk about tonight?
No, sir.
Anything?
Police department's good.
Everything's calm?
Yes, sir.
Nobody's been running through any more roadblocks or anything lately?
We were there to apprehend him in a very quick and safe manner.
Thank you. It was good work yesterday on that whole mess that was going on, so thank you. Okay. We have some new business then. We have municipal order 2019-01, which is outlining and establishing the council committees. Now that we have seated the new council, I'd like to ask our city attorney if she would read the municipal order, please. Number M 2019-01.
Thank you, Mayor. Municipal order number M 2019-01. Now therefore be it ordered by the City Council of the City of Bardstown, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that the council committees established through municipal order M 2017-01 and amended in municipal order M 2017-03, M 2017-08, and M 2018-02 be amended in the following manner. Number 1, that there is hereby named a safety committee of the city council whose members shall be chairman, councilman, striking John Kelly, inserting Bill Shekels, councilman, striking Keisha Copeland, inserting Betty Hart, councilman, striking Bill Shekels, Franklin Hibbs IV, inserting Franklin Hibbs IV, the police chief or his or her designee, and the fire chief or his or her designee, and shall have regularly scheduled meetings on the second Thursday of March, June, September, and December each year at 5:00 p.m. in the Mayor's Conference Room of City Hall located at 220 North 5th Street. Number 2, that there is hereby named a finance committee of the City Council whose members shall be co-chairman Mayor J. Richard Heaton, co-chairman Councilman Roland Williams, councilman striking John Kelly, inserting Betty Hart, councilman Bill Shekels, and the chief financial officer, and that the finance committee shall have meetings as needed. Number 3, that there is hereby named a long-term planning committee of the City Council whose members shall be chairman striking Councilman Keisha Copeland, inserting Mayor J. Richard Heaton, Councilman Joe Buckman, inserting Councilman Franklin Hibbs IV, and Councilman Roland Williams, and that the long-term planning committee shall have meetings as needed. Number 4, that there is hereby named an electric and cable TV committee of the City Council whose members shall be chairman Councilman David Jones, Councilman Roland Williams, councilman striking Keisha Copeland, insert Franklin Hibbs IV, the city electrical engineer, the striking staff, insert city systems engineer, and the electric superintendent, and shall have regularly scheduled meetings on the first Tuesday of January, April, July, and October each year at 4:00 p.m. in the City Council's chamber located on the second floor at 116 North 5th Street. Number 5, that there is hereby named a water and wastewater committee of the City Council whose members shall be chairman Councilman Bill Shekels, councilman strike John Kelly, insert Betty Hart, councilman David Jones, strike Mayor J. Richard Heaton, insert Councilman Franklin Hibbs IV, the administrative engineer and the city civil engineer, and that the water and wastewater committee shall have meetings as needed. Number 6, that there is hereby created a cemetery committee of the City Council whose members shall be chairman Councilman Joe Buckman, councilman Bill Shekels, staff civil engineer, inserting a comma there, the public works superintendent, the groundskeeper, the sexton, and the citizen member, and shall have regularly scheduled meetings on the second Wednesday of February, May, August, and November of each year at 8:30 a.m. in the Mayor's Conference Room of City Hall located at 220 North 5th Street. Number 7, that there is hereby named a street, solid waste, and transportation planning committee of the City Council whose members shall be chairman Councilman Joe Buckman, Councilman Roland Williams, councilman strike Keisha Copeland, insert Franklin Hibbs IV, the staff civil engineer, the city civil engineer, and the public works superintendent, and that the street, solid waste, and transportation planning committee shall have meetings as needed. Number 8, that there is hereby named an annexation committee of the City Council whose members shall be chairman Councilman strike John Kelly, insert Betty Hart, Councilman David Jones, Councilman Bill Shekels, the Human Resource Director, the Director of Public Works and Engineering, and the City Civil Engineer, and that the Annexation Committee shall have meetings as needed. Number 9, that there is hereby named a Recreation Committee of the City Council whose members shall be Chairman Councilman Roland Williams, Councilman strike Keisha Copeland, insert Betty Hart, Councilman David Jones, and the Recreation Director, and shall have regularly scheduled meetings on the fourth Thursday of March, June, September, and December at 5:00 p.m. in the City Council chamber located on the second floor at 116 North 5th Street.
Okay. I've tried to, hopefully try to match everybody up with committees that they would feel comfortable in serving. For some of the incumbent council members, you know, you pretty much stayed where you have been and moved some of you around a little bit. Didn't hear any gnashing of the teeth or anything from Councilman Hart or Councilman Hibbs, so I think they were respectful and accepted their assignments without any protest, so we're happy about that. I do think there is one, in paragraph 8, there is one other strike that we missed. we should strike the Director of Public Works and Engineering. We no longer have that position.
The last time we talked about it, it was, we were going to leave that as a real position, just not have it filled. And you had.
Okay, so it's an authorized position still?
It is not. It is struck from the pay classification.
It is.
Probably better strike
Okay,
that
sure.
from this one then.
I see some administrative changes to the times of the meetings that are not consistent, so I'd like to change that as well. But that's just an administrative change. I guess we could vote on that pending the edit that I'll make to striking that position, Director of Public Works and Engineering. I'll take that.
Yeah, we could, I'd ask for a motion then to approve municipal order number N 2019-01 with the one correction in paragraph 8 of striking Director of Public Works and Engineering from that, being a member of that particular committee.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. This order number N 2019-01 is approved. Thank you. Okay, found out that when year end rolls around, you also find out there's a lot of committee appointees whose terms are usually start or end towards the end of the fiscal year. So we've got a number of appointments that are up for renewal. I don't know if we should take these individually.
That would be the preference.
Okay. So we have an appointment for the Development Review Board, and Edward C. Has agreed to serve another term, will be effective January 1st, 2019. I ask for a motion then to approve the reappointment of Edward C. to the Development Review Board for a 3-year term.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to reappoint Edward C. to the DRB for a three-year term.
Well, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. And then the next one is reappointment of Mark Mathis to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 4-year term. His term will be effective February of 2019.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that Mark Mathis be appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 4-year term effective to February 2019.
Thank you.
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the next appointment, also Mr. Mathis is up, has agreed to serve another 4-year term on the Board of Adjustments, also starting February 2019. Motion?
So moved.
A motion, and a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. The next one is reappointment of Martin Carpenter to the Board of Adjustments. He also has a 4-year term effective February of 2019. Need a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Martin Carpenter to the Board of Adjustments, starting the 4-year term effective to 2019.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion, and a second.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. Next one, Jerry Florence, is an appointment for, that's not a reappointment, he would be a new appointment for the Board of Assessment of Appeals. That's through the PDA, and they have rules about that you can only serve a certain number of terms. You can't just continue to serve multiple terms. So this is a new appointment. He's taken John Harmon's position as John went off. So I need a motion to approve Jerry Florence to the Board of Assessments Appeals.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to appoint Jerry Florence to the Board of Assessment Appeals,
It'll be effective.
January 1st of this year.
Okay. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Williams. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the next one is a reappointment, Teresa Maddox to the Housing Authority for a 4-year term effective February 12th, 2019.
So,
There's a motion by Councilman Sheckler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Buckman. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. Oh, I'm sorry.
When you refuse on this last one?
I don't know if he does or not. I
Oh,
don't want to
yeah.
impute the need to recuse to him that,
Yeah, he could do that if he.
I don't know that he has to. I just thought it was, you know,
It would look better if we didn't,
Right.
yeah,
I think.
Okay.
for the coveted tree board position.
Good call, city attorney.
I think the person's qualifications are pretty good. So there's a reappointment of former Mayor Dixie Hibbs to the tree board for a 3-year term. That's effective January 24th of 2019. I need a motion for that reappointment.
So moved.
Have a motion, and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Let the record show that Councilman Hibbs recused himself from that appointment. All right. We have a lot of spots to fill here starting the new year. Any of the members of the council have anything to bring before the council? Any announcements or anything? I know we've already done the cemetery deeds.
Did you make mention of the audit that they all should have?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that we're reviewing it at the next
Yeah,
meeting.
if you don't mind, go ahead.
Okay, according to Tracy Hudson, you should each have a copy of the most current audit in front of you. Discussion will be scheduled for the next council meeting, which is the 22nd. Please feel free to reach out to her directly with any questions you have. Not my area of expertise.
Okay. Announcements. Don't know of anything right off the bat that's happening this week or anything, so.
KLC conference coming up.
Yeah, I think, has everybody who's planning on attending gotten registered and taken care of?
If you don't have your confirmation number yet for your registration at the hotel, I will give it to you tomorrow. It's been made, we're having a communication barrier with registration, but your rooms are reserved at the hotel across the street, which is nicer. I know, sorry.
That's next
Unless you
week.
want to call Linda and see if she can work her magic for your hospitality room.
I'm not having a hospitality.
I'll get those to you tomorrow.
Okay, if there's no other announcements, I ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Williams, do we have a second? Second by Councilman Hibbs. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.